somebody told me today they bought a copy of Amazon on Amazon already. So I don't know. What do I know? Let's go to the first poem. All right. The Adverbial World of Match.com. Your profile says that you are quite. It also states you can be very, sometimes even very, very. In addition, I see that you are partly and slightly, not to mention mostly, though you did mention it 9 times. Thanks for writing, but I'm looking for someone who's extremely. I also have a soft spot in my heart for highly, but there I'll try to compromise. One place, however, I will not bend. You mentioned several times you never. Forgive me, please. I'd like someone who at least occasionally, and frankly, even at my age, I wouldn't mind a mate who often. Thank you. Let's see if this is a good chance to find out if my table of contents works. Let's see, maybe today. The title poem, page 38. It works. Well, let's had it marked anyway. Okay, this poem has an extended epigraph, and I can also tell you that all of the events in this poem actually happened. They're real news events. The epigraph is for David Rodriguez Richardson. At a Texas barbecue, a 16-year-old Mexican American was beaten nearly to death by 2 white boys for talking to their sister. A year later, after testifying before Congress on hate crimes, he committed suicide. The title of this poem is Maybe Today. The sun descends, offended by Earth. Or is it Earth, embarrassed, turns away? Whichever, soon the great optimist, morning, will give it yet another try. Maybe today will be the day no one is dragged behind a truck because he's black, or kicked to death because he's gay. The day no man imprisons a girl, no mother drowns a child. Maybe today will be the day the cycle ends, where one man builds a building and another man flies a plane into it. I tell morning, they say doing the same thing expecting different results defines insanity. Morning answers. Maybe it defines optimism. Maybe today. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last page should be very easy to find. There it is. Barry Dickson, 1945 dash. The instant you are born, you get a dash. A reminder the day life begins, that one day it will end. Guaranteed. Joe Jones, 1966 dash. Jennifer Kristen Rabinowitz, 2021 dash. Somewhere in a county seat, a very willing clerk sits ready to write a year to the right of your dash. Michael Jackson, 1958 dash 2009. You cannot have your dash removed. There are no dashectomies. You cannot get rid of your dash by living a good life. Sorry. One man does not have a bigger dash than another man. Rich people cannot cheat death by buying more dashes. Bill Gates' dash is identical to the dash of the bag lady you passed on your way to work this morning. Nothing personal, but your dash is worthless. You cannot sell it for 1 penny or auction it on eBay. Are you a Christian? You cannot be saved from the dash. A Jew? 5,800 years of history have not removed one single dash. A Muslim? All the passion and intensity on earth will never delete your dash. A Buddhist? You have gained great wisdom. Guess what? You still have a dash. So as long as there is an empty space to the right of your dash, enjoy, live, love, learn, and be nice to that other guy. Because no matter who he is or what he's done, no matter who you are or who you think you are, I can assure you with absolute certainty that you both have a dash and a very willing county clerk. Thank you.
Great poems, Barry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Available at barrydickson-.com. If you think I know the difference between a hyphen and a dash, by the way.
Okay, let's see. Catherine's still not here. I don't see her. Susan?
Yeah. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is from my collection called Among Men. November 14th, 2008. Into Africa I fly on a one-way ticket. Journey through 14 countries in 22 months on local transportation. Learn, rest, change. A woman without advantage of youth or money. The journey has many pieces. This is one. November 30. To Zaire, an oasis in southwestern Tunisia on the northern edge of the Sahara. Old Town. I drink handfuls of sweet water from a round stone well. Chalky sun lights twisted lanes between brick shops. Every manner of Tunisian treads these lanes. Turban Berbers, coal-black descendants of Arab and Berber slaves, swarthy Arabs, Berber women jeweled in scarlet, or like me in simple black. I poke among them. Squinting from a sun-white lane, I enter thick darkness of a regal shop. Raked sand floor. Aromas of pleasure lead to blue bowls, glowing pebbles of frankincense and myrrh. Woody lemon, black licorice. No invasion of movement or sound in this shadowy shop. Images gradually present themselves. Rows of hanging garments. I thumb a row of pastel cloaks. He sneaks up behind me like a thief. Madam, may I offer you tea? Timbers of his voice touch my crazy bone. Green eyes dazzle shadow. Gray tunic drapes like royal robes. Ringless hands clasp. He bows low. I want him to lift his eyes, lift his head, light me again with those eyes. At the low round table, I sit on pillows across from him, sculpted jaw, slow, proud mouth. He pours tea. You're from America? Yes. I no longer wonder why Berbers know stuff without being told. Have you been to the desert? Yes, well, through it. On a train, then a jeep. Did it sing to you? Sing? Yes. The desert? Yes. I smile. No. I'm surprised. The desert chooses who hears its song. You are chosen, I'm sure. Dunes drift and whisper, catch the wind, pitch low melody in daylight that broods hollow at night. Desert demons, some say. I do not agree. He offers biscuits, cloth wrapped in a woven basket. Desert wind and sand will dance forever. Wind teases small dunes to climb larger ones, persuades monster dunes to crawl across each other. I hang on his eyes, his long eyelids, minor keys of his voice, like warming up to sing, perfumes of lemon and licorice encircle us. My mind casts about. I'm interested in a camel cloak, not the pastels, dark brown like the one hanging by itself. He takes the dark brown cloak off its lone peg. The cloak in Tunisia is called a barnoose, usually worn only by men. I will have this one washed. Washed? This is my own. It is not for sale, except to you. Camel wash is clean and fresh. Will you come for it tomorrow? I rub my cheek against toasty male scents of the soft, woolly barnoose. Yes, definitely. Thank you for the chia. My name is Thoraya. His soft laughter reaches out, catches me. Remembered music of his voice lulls me asleep tonight.
Thank you, Susan. Always listening to you read. All right, we still don't have Catherine or June. So I have Laura and Robin for the next two. Not much warning, Laura. I'm sorry. I should have.
Okay.
Haven't seen you in so long. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
I was having Zoom fatigue. I had to take a break. I'm not sure about the time. And I had emailed you this short story, Brooke. But the title is Shadows, and I'll read the first scene, if that's okay. Men pounded on the door, their angry voices filling the night air, while the Spanish moss swayed languidly in the humid summer breeze. Inside, Graham and Isabel scrambled for an escape. A window, perhaps, but torches, fires burning hot and bright, encircled the cabin. No way out. We know you're in there. More pounding. The hinges of the door creaked from the force of it. Girl, best come out and meet your judgment. Isabel flinched. That's my father. I know, Graham pulled her into his arms. Your daddy won't stand for you loving someone like me. Too much flavor for a man with his limited palate. You know it, I know it. Doesn't matter, Isabel shook her head, tears running down her face. I love you. He can't do this. Listen to me, Graham nodded. He can. You know it's so. The man aims to end me tonight. We can use the tunnel, Isabel said. No, you can. If I'm not here when they break through, they'll know. You never be safe here. Graham, they already know. We can leave together, go somewhere else. Isabel paced the rear of the small cabin, clenching her hand. They suspect it's different than knowing. You'd pay with your life, Graham said, or your body. Can't allow that, Isabel. There's no other way. The small window over the kitchen sink broke, glass shards splintering everywhere, and a large rock landed at Isabel's feet. Graham pulled Isabel into his arms and leaned down, his lips only a whisper from hers. I love you. Best let me take the blame. Just another dangerous man robbing the cabin of one of the well-to-dos. He kissed Isabel, his love pouring through her with resolve. She took a deep breath, drawing him in, knowing. The warmth of his powerful hands pulled her against him, infusing her body with his strength. Isabel had been drawn to his quiet power, to the way he'd held himself tall when people lesser than him, folks who thought themselves better than a man whose skin didn't match their own, tried to dictate what he could be. Together, they'd been deliciously happy. even though Graham had insisted they hide their relationship. To protect her, he'd said. She'd bristled at this, arguing that times were different now, but relented when his reasoning convinced her stubbornness. He'd been right, and now he held her, the side of his face resting against hers, his fingers tangled in her hair, still only thinking of her safety. Graham lifted the panel of loose boards and tucked Isabel into the tunnel. His lips found hers one last time. Run. The panel shut, darkness wrapping around Isabel, and then wood splintered and the air exploded with the sounds of heavy footsteps and gunfire. Isabel took a deep breath and ran. It'd be weeks before Isabel returned to the cabin, still no sign of Graham, confirming her darkest fears. Her father, wearing an apologetic expression, had replaced the cabin door, only muttering under his breath that it had to be done. He'd patted her on the head like she was a good girl. She'd lied, said she'd been visiting a friend in Charleston that day, and hid the grief gnawing through her, the perfect picture of innocence. They never spoke of that night or why she needed a new door, but Isabel would have her vengeance. And you guys had
Thank you.
musical accompaniment from the dog.
I was going to say that. Thank you for reading.
Thank you.
Did you want me to go next?
Oh, yes, Robin, you're next.
I always have this fear that my Byron is going to start barking through all these sessions that we've been doing in the last year. So I'm sensitive to people's pets doing that right when you're reading. I only have one short piece tonight. It's brand new. I've been doing what a lot of poets do in April. I joined a 30-30 group. So I'm on a challenge to write 30 new poems in 30 days. So far, I'm hitting it. Most of them are terrible and will never see the light of day. But this one I wrote on the 5th. And I think it's going somewhere. So I thought I'd see if it flies. The challenge was to learn a new word. I did not actually, I cheated. This is what I do. I actually learned a new definition for a word. I was visiting Fort Pulaski with someone who has experience in construction and used the word deflect, which I thought I understood what it meant. But when he used it that way, I was like, what does that mean? So what I'm supposed to do in this poem is show the meaning, the connotations, the history. So circles and deflections. I stare at a series of arches that are Fort Pulaski, defunct and barely used remnant of wars civil and not. One corner burned out the floorboards, bearing its foundation. How the arch continues, forms a full circle underground. A circle is stronger than a square, says the engineer. A straight beam deflects. I know square doorways well, deflection formulas that push that displaces at an angle or a distance, know the range, the safe maximum. But those Romans found strength in semicircles, a design that distributes compression and so reduces tension. Their aqueducts stand even now. Curves last, I think. Tricky in progress, workers add scaffolding, support until sides meet in the middle. There's no integrity otherwise, he says. Curve too much, tension builds. I think town squares need to be circles.
Thanks, Robin. So you're day 8 and you've written a poem every day? Yeah.
Sorry,
It's a fun,
so far.
fun challenge. Just think if we did it every month, all year long.
Well, I usually write a poem, maybe 2 a month max. So this is a huge challenge for me. I know at some point I'm going to hit a wall, but we'll see.
We'll keep going for now. All right, well, looks like Kathy's not reading. Catherine and June are not here, so looks like we'll be moving on to our featured writers, excuse me. Otram Slabess. Actually, oops, I was gonna read one poem real quick. Sorry, I'm new to this. I forgot. I'm supposed to read if I'm going to read before the featured writers. Sorry. I'm just going to read one poem for Poetry Month, and it's also for my dog Max. You've heard me talk about him or read about him. He passed away in 2018, but his birthday is in a few days, April 11th. So I'm going to read this for him real quick. It's called Above Us the Birds Sing. The gift of having you one more day is a reminder that one day I will not. We sit in the garden. The morning sun gives your body a sure sign of life. Your eyes are closed. I watch shadows of birds fly through your white fur. The black dot on your head is a souvenir of how we met 13 years ago. I hear church bells in the distance. They add some kind of charm to our routine. Wake up, breathe, enjoy whatever time is left. Breathe again, sleep. Please breathe again. I want to reach down, touch you, hold your paw, trace the black dot over and over as if to erase it, bring it back, erase it, but I don't. You look too peaceful even to call your name, but I do anyway to myself, quietly. Max, Max, Max. I want to readjust your back legs since a disease has hindered you to do it yourself. Or maybe I'll pop another pill down your throat to ensure the tumor is not bleeding. Oh, my sweet boy, how beautiful the world is around us for such ugly things to be inside you, taking you further and further away from me. Come back to me. And the birds, and the sun, and the worm that curves so softly into itself, into the dirt, just below where you lie. Thanks. Okay. Now for our wonderful group, Otram Slabess. And I have well, for those who don't know, hold on one second. This is a group that's been together for 15 years in Beaufort, South Carolina. And Jackie, I do have you going first, but I'm going to read your bio before you get started.
Okay.
So Jackie Markham, author of 2 chapbooks and a collection, Peering into the Iris, An Ancestral Journey, has published widely in literary journals, magazines, and anthologies, most recently Women and Earth, printed in English and Russian, and The High Window, a quarterly review published in UK. A recipient of numerous grants for literary merit and the Adele Mellon Prize for Distinguished Contribution to Scholarship, Markham holds an MA and PhD in creative writing from Florida State University. A professor of English and liberal arts for Ashford University, she lives and writes in Beaufort, South Carolina. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Brooke, and thanks to everyone who's here, and Jonathan, and the Pat Conroy Center for continuing this poetry extravaganza. It's so much fun. I'm going to join Elizabeth and read at least one of my poems from Poem a Day Challenge, which actually, this is my early bird. I even did an early bird, two early birds, in fact, on March 31st. But this one is a shout out to the Poetry Society of South Carolina. Jim Lundy, the president, gives us a prompt for just the members to play around with, do what they want to do. And then one is chosen to be published in the next newsletter. So this one, I had the prompt of endurance, kind of related to the pandemic. And I won. So I was in the March newsletter. You can't see this since I'm reading it, but on the left margin, it spells out endurance. You'll hear it. Pandemic prescription, endurance. Endure, nestle into your space and fill every corner with love. Dance in the living room until 3 a.m. Uplift spirits fallen from eons of isolation. Remember resilience in landslides of change. Affirm you will survive. Nourish creativity in all you do. Care for self, soulmates, and strangers. Endure. And we are. This is another, thank you so much. This is another pandemic poem, and it was written in for the Poem a Day Challenge last year. And I think the prompt was something like write a poem to pleasures that you have during the pandemic. And I realized that I instead wrote a poem about pleasures that I missed. So that's what this is called. Ode to small pleasures missed during the pandemic. No more mornings of journaling at Java. No more strolls at the waterfront park. No more Greek paninis under an umbrella. No music played by a friend. No more embraces, friends or strangers. No more kisses tender on the head or walks arm in arm. No more notes pressed in a hand. No bartender's hello, darling, or kava in a crystal flute at the bar. No tete-a-tete over Bengal spiced tea at my table or cheers with Pinot Noir. No serving late night cocktails or bouillabaisse in my kitchen. No more foraging at markets for food or trinkets or buying a hat or posing for pictures with poets. No more gathering with writers to read and to write or browsing the library stacks. For now, small pleasures found at home, naps on lazy spring afternoons, music on my flute, music from the internet, martinis in an Eiffel Tower glass, belly dance moves in the living room, a mockingbird that sings through the night, cardinals and wrens that announce the dawn. Thankfully, some of that is changing very slowly. This is a poem. Well, I'm not going to tell you the prompt because then I'll give it away. But it's a Charleston poem in a way. It's a low country poem. It's called Trumpet Flowers. They have sprouted, these 7 4 o'clock seeds from a Charleston window box on Queen Street. As a girl, I scavenged seeds from flowers bursting forth, gathered them in piles, folded homemade envelopes of tablet paper, painted replicas on front and the number 5 to advertise the price. Going door to door, offer to old Mrs. Candler in exchange for strudel, to another gray-haired friend in exchange for time on the shiny piano. A favorite, the lantern-shaped black hard seed I could not pass that day in Charleston without pocketing a few seeds. promising magenta and sunshine trumpets, marvel of Peru to some. My mother called them 4 o'clocks. How divine the scent. Her apprentice flower girl, always learning names and seeds, wondering how they came to grow in rural Michigan from Peru, a mystery. I know how they landed in my garden from that Charleston window box. I stole them. It was supposed to be a poem about something you stole. And I couldn't really think of anything, being just brutally honest. So finally I did remember I kind of picked those flowers out of those seeds out of the window box. Okay, I'm gonna get a little light here. Oops, that's too much light. This last poem, I think it was also a poem a day. I'm not really sure if it was or not, but I've had it for a year. It's in memory of my dear friend whose the anniversary of her passing is tomorrow. So this is the first time I've ever read the poem to anyone. And here it goes. Invoking Quan Yin. Through my rose-colored glasses, death would be romantic. We would sit holding hands like Grace Channing and Charlotte Perkins Gilman. There would be no rasping or gasping for breath, no pain, like the cancer website explains on the end of life pages. I would be there keeping you warm as the muddy Clark Fork River swirls below us, beavers athletically hanging on the bank, while even large logs bob like corks in the dark, ferocious churning. Points of light would scatter the Pacific Ocean. Then, as you look at me smiling your glamorous smile and waves wash the moonstone pebbled shore, we toast in a plastic but stemmed glass to the rest of our journey, to the future, to our health. The wheels turn and turn on the compact car with houseplants and an 8-year-old girl in the back seat, a restless daughter. Daughters, all of us, turning hopeful toward a new life for you in the West. Columbine on the higher peaks of Ouray, tumbleweeds across the desert, California poppies waving red, all sing. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. We arrive in Monterey at last. Then I turn back east in a silver bird. Quan Yin, your daughters seek your aid. We invoke the goddess of compassion at this hour of death. She bathes us in white light and all our adventures spill out a cornucopia of friendship. A half century of laughter now covers the pain, distance between us, you on the Pacific, me on the Atlantic, a continent of years and magical moments. All this and more in my romantic moment of parting. We hold hands and see stories rise above us, scattering from a cinematic lantern, Ingmar Bergman style. Cuckoo clocks, music boxes, robed characters in white and black. Death walks the horizon, silhouette on a bluff, followed by a string of shadowy figures in black. Tinkling music stops. The lantern goes dark. I let go of your hand. I made it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jackie. Those are beautiful. They always are.
Thanks, Brooke.
Okay, next we have, I see that Warren and Quitman are together. Next we have Warren Schlesinger. A little about Warren. After he graduated from the Iowa Writers Workshop with an MFA, He taught English part-time while working full-time in the publishing business as an editor, marketing manager, or sales manager at the following university presses: Chicago, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. He received an Ingram Merrill Grant and a South Carolina Poetry Fellowship. His poetry has been published in the American Poetry Review, the Antioch Review, the Georgia Review, Iowa Review, New Letters, the North American Review, Poetry Daily, the Swanee Review, and the South Carolina Review. Wow. He has been a resident at the Yaddo and McDowell Colonies for Writers and the Sitka Center for Study of the Arts and Ecology. Thank you, Warren, for being here, and you can take it from here whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the background that I provided. I'm going to read the title poem of a collection that came out called The Evening Light. And it deals with the return of an illness that my wife had. So I'll read the title poem. And the horizon holds no lofty notion, no mansion in the moving clouds, no gate that opens for her to float on her bosom through the air. She does not live there and then in her naked skin, but here and now when she steps out of the shower, warm and wet, I kiss her slender neck and smell a perfume from the soap in the hollow of her collarbone. The tiles gleam, the air swirls around her, and the mirror fogs with steam. Holy mortal is my wife, who does not foresee an afterlife and who is not indifferent to her own demise. And yet she does not flinch when I touch a bone instead of breasts, underneath the skin graft on her chest, as smooth and plain as parchment, and larger than my hand that could not protect her from the knife. But she is not embarrassed by her nakedness and presses against me her other breast while she leans to wipe away the steam. And when I turn, our eyes meet in the mirror, and I do not relish the reflection. In that instant of misgiving in which she waits and wants to go on living. Given the injury to skin and bone, there is still a hidden strength within its woman, firmer than my own, and a stubbornness in spite of the tightness in her throat and chest, not prone to self-pity. Others see a brightness in the sky and find a higher purpose in the evening light, but she does not. Her eyes merely redden with regret at the thought of time passing, and yet she seldom cries, as though she chose the uncertainty of life as opposed to the uncertainty of heaven. May I read another poem? Okay. I don't want to go too much into the background, but it's been a long, lonely time since she passed away. This is called Alone. If a man knows he does not just need to see a woman to catch her scent in her clothes, when he is drawn to the window to watch a cloud that floats over the house and a shadow that slips through the grass before he goes back to the closet and pulls a silk scarf and a wool dress from a tangle of hangers on hooks and kneels to pick up a shoe, why does he sit on the edge of the bed with her clothes when he knows she is not there? May I read another, or I don't want to?
Yes, Warren, read another.
I got another one. Okay. Okay, this is after she's passed away, of course. This is called Without. A man knows he is only going to fill a space when he takes a key from the clerk, who slaps it down on the desk and slides it to him without looking up. Alone in the lobby, he hears a ding, and the elevator opens like a box of light that rattles and shakes when it takes him to a door on the top floor with a number instead of a name, for a room with a bed too big for a man without a woman. Alone in the room, he goes to the window to watch a cloud while it drifts over a canyon of concrete and steel. I think I'm running out of time here. Do I have more time, or I want to make sure that other people have time to read? Yes?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Mhm.
Okay, well, I've got 3 sons, and I always worry about one that lives and works in Thailand. And I keep trying to get him to come back. I don't know if he can with the pandemic right now. This was written when my wife was alive. We were both concerned about his penchant for traveling and adventure. It's called A Man at 60. That's a while back for me. A man at 60 learns to climb slowly and favor the knee that cracks on the stairs to the attic. At rest on the landing, he catches his breath and kneels to open a box of old photographs under a bulb lit by a chain, to find the one of his son who looked up to him come loose in its frame. When his wife calls to him on the landing, as if he climbed aboard a ship without enough wind in its rigging, the sail tumbles down to the deck and the keel sinks in the sand like a blade. I think I've run out of time, but thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Warren. Those were great. Very strong poems.
I didn't catch, what is your last name, Warren?
Pardon me?
Your last name? Oh, there it is.
Schlesinger, like messenger.
Okay.
And you said the collection, The Evening Light, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Warren.
you're welcome, and thank you.
Well, next we have, sitting right next to Warren, we have Quitman Marshall. Quitman Marshall's fifth book of poems, You Were Born One Time, won the South Carolina Poetry Archives Book Prize in 2013. A founding host of the literary series at the Spoleto Festival USA, and a winner of the Writers Exchange Award. He is presently selling 3 manuscripts, a nonfiction book, Swampitude, a novel, The Bloody Point, and a poetry collection titled American Folklore. Since 2001, he has lived in Beaufort, South Carolina with his wife and now 3 children. Okay, Quitman, whenever you're ready, we're ready to listen.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Foreign cuss? Never mind.
Want me to move?
No. I'll read, let's see, 4. They're short and they're recent poems. Yeah. So the first one's called Morning Noise. Hundreds of songbirds, their talk, with wings threading the trees, and the lone goose down the hill crying for another, echo the owls that began to fill the morning with noise. As squirrels in pairs race along the greening branches, gray tails brushing blue into the sky, until an engine starts somewhere, followed by another, closer, and for all the days of my life, the question of attention to this world or that one. It's called You. If you really made it and it works, as the tin roof I made over the back porch I made works, then you might sometimes be satisfied with what you've done in your life, maybe even pleased, at least when it rains. That roof is roaring now and rains are ever heavier. We built a home on deep water, you said, although we never lifted a hammer. The matter of pronouns is destroying us. I remember being hunched in the rain inside a scrap-made hut with my stuffed toy bear and a joy that remains that you weren't there. It's supposed to be kind of funny, but I don't know, sort of slightly. All right, this is called Citizens. Citizens. We voted today. Our hearts go out invisibly to those in the long line. It began to rain. She talked of the murder in France of the teacher who talked badly. The killer's thought of the prophet. Being watched. Can you hear the helicopter? It's like, well, you know, it's just like crazy, but come on, eh? Right?
Heard something. I couldn't tell if it was a helicopter.
It's like, I don't know. All right, citizens, we voted today. Our hearts go out invisibly to those in the long line. It began to rain. She talked of the murder in France of the teacher who talked badly. The killer's thought of the prophet. I don't say I think girls should wear the hijab if they want, or if their parents want them to. Let them throw the damn cloth off when they leave home if they want. I don't say anything about 2 world wars or the fate of the Jews in Europe. Neither do I throw the choice of scoundrel or fool at those who want the other man. Silently, I choose fooled, and less so than my people along the bloody color line, or than I was for women so far from me. We are tools for the powerful to use, for greed and resentment to abuse. Because of love, I try to keep the peace. In love, we voted. Citizens, we love an idea, though we know the truth. And I'll close with what we know. What we know. Where the land is thin on this sea island, where a school was built for the newly freed, now crowned with hospital and community college some people can nearly afford, the sea comes close with what it has carried forever, and the 3 great herons stand guard still, scattered again in winter brown Spartina, now joined by another for me, there 4. The water at peak tide in the yellow of sunset is smooth as the end of things. Despite what we know of ourselves, there is almost perfection in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now we can get in. Thank you.
Thank you, Quitman.
There's a big hole here.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Maybe we can fill that hole with Olivia. She's next.
Hey.
Hopefully one day soon you all can get together in person and read for us.
Cool.
Okay. Olivia Stiffler's first book of poems, Otherwise We Are Safe, was published by Dos Madres Press in 2013 and was included on Writer's Almanac's Best of 2014 list. Her second book, Hiding in Plain Sight, was published by Dos Madres in 2017. More information is available at her website, www.oliviastifler.com. Olivia, I love both of those titles of your collections.
Thank you. Thank you. I read this quote last week at the Kickstart Poetry event, but it's so impressive to me. I'm going to read it again because not everyone who's present today was present at that event. So this is the quote. It's from Jeanette Winterson, who's a British author, and it's about poetry. And She says, so when people say that poetry is a luxury or an option, or for the educated middle classes, or that it shouldn't be read at school because it is irrelevant, or any of the strange and stupid things that are said about poetry and its place in our lives, I suspect that the people doing the saying have had things pretty easy. A tough life needs a tough language, and that is what poetry is. That is what literature offers, a language powerful enough to say how it is. It isn't a hiding place, it's a finding place. There are a lot of major themes playing out across our cultural landscape right now that require a tough language. Racial injustice and inequities, democracy versus authoritarianism, misogyny and violence against women, climate change, a global pandemic, to name a few. There are themes aplenty for writers. But rather than dive into the macro trends, I like to look at the experience of the individual who cannot but be swept up in the prevailing winds. This poem is called Young Black Man Whose Job is Blowing Leaves. His face is a wall of stone. It says he has little and little hope to have. It says, keep out. It says, no trespassing. Who are we to hope to enter where he enters without hope? If we think we know how he feels we do not know. His face is a wall of stone. It says he belongs neither to us nor to the leaves he blows. It says he belongs only to himself. And this second poem is a little poem about climate change. It's called A Sign of Hope. Fog, thick air, dim light, the world outside the passenger window, sullen as the sea before a storm. All the news is bad. Floods, fires, drought, famine, disease, war, the last breath of the last white rhino. As we push westward through the boredom of Kansas, I am granted a sliver of sky to fill my emptiness, a banner of orange pink defiant in the advancing dusk. Giant windmills lined up like columns of soldiers appear on the barren plains, their arms at rest, awaiting orders from whatever God commands the winds. And I, weighed down with the world, watch as a single windmill receives in the crook of its upturned arms the weight of the full moon, a golden host cradled in a silver chalice, like an offering, like hope. And I'll read one last poem, and this one is personal. It's a child's perspective on the feel of morning, called Waking to Possibility. A school morning, the smell of bacon, Hank Williams whining from the kitchen, September cool seeping through the pores of our 3-bedroom ranch. I rise like a sapling with my vague promise of branches and blossoms and step into the thin bark of a school uniform. Words have yet to bruise the day or strip the peace from morning. Between dreaming and breakfast, all good things are possible. Just to breathe is magic. Happy Poetry Month to everyone. Readers and writers, pass it on. Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia. And I'm glad that you read that quote again, because the kickstart, when you read it, I wrote down, I knew who Jeanette Winterson was, but you said it was from which book?
It is from her book, Why Be Happy When You Can Be Normal.
There you go. Yeah. I was trying to repeat that quote to someone, and I really messed it up. I was like, I need to find out what that is again. So thanks for reading that again. Thanks for your poems.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Emily Davis-Fletcher. And let's see what Emily has for us. Emily earned her BFA in creative writing from Stevens College and her MA in women's studies from the National University of Ireland, Galway. Her poetry has been published in Southward, Crannog Magazine, The Irish Examiner, and The High Window, among other journals and anthologies. She has taught creativity and poetry workshops at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, and at the Pat Conroy Literary Center. In 2018, Emily was selected to read at the Cork International Poetry Festival introductions reading, and most recently, her poem, Sal Calling, was a finalist in the Sublingual Prize for Poetry 2019. She facilitates the Moon and Poetry Workshop online every Sunday. I think she put in the chat box her information. It's a great group if you'd like to join her and other poets on Sundays. Thank you, Emily, for being here. And I just saw Lover Bliss by. Okay, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be reading again with Otram Slabess poets. It's been too long, 2 years. So thank you for this opportunity. And you're doing a great job. We miss Vivian, but you're doing a great job, Brooke. So thank you. And yeah, I'm just going to mention that. So Moon and Sun Poets Group, we have an open mic. We have a reading followed by an open mic on April 18th. So I hope all of you can join us. It'll be on Zoom. I put in the chat bar the Facebook event page, and then also you can email me if you want the Zoom link, which if you want to read on that in the open mic, you do need to email me. You'll see my email there. Otherwise, you can watch live on Facebook, but you know, please read with us. And there's like Jackie's in that. There's some great writers from like the Low Country and beyond, Ireland, Georgia, faraway Georgia. So yeah, please join us for that. It's at 2 p.m. Sunday, April 18th. And another cool little plug for our group, for Moon and Sun Poets. We're going to be in the Low Country Weekly, the last issue, and then 2 more issues for Poetry Month. We each have like a poem in there. So I'm going to start my reading with a poem that was in the last issue, and Jackie's will be out probably in the next issue, and there's like 4 of us in this issue. But so you can pick up this copy of Low Country Weekly and look for the next issues. Okay, so mine was just one thing to say. There's this Turkish word. I co-wrote this with someone that I met on OkCupid. It's one of those, and this was before the pandemic. And I really hope that this gets out there to OkCupid, and they contact me and they're like, we want you to be in a commercial about what to do during a pandemic when you meet someone online. It's like you write a poem with them. But this was actually pre-pandemic. We wrote this together. But there's a word in there, terso, that's Turkish for pickle. It's in there. He's Turkish, but I actually put it in there. So, okay, it's called Marshside. Purple flames of muley grass nod for your hand, delicate to not trip the marsh of the mind. Did you turn off the stove, delaying orbit to the mundane, a pair of redheads, woodpeckers kiss through pine, while I bend like a bark acrobat, bury my face in sunflowers, narrow-leaved, a pose that defies our hesitations. Seeds underground taste smoke where we stand, so still the embers could sprout onto our toes. Terso, terso, you laugh and brush away ants that bite like patience. I want to touch each bite that should have been, carry the sugar and sting of you on my tongue. The bees in your eyes sensing, buzzing, that ripples my blood, shakes a heron loose from his shadow, and sends all our small birds fluttering like paper, on fire with the words, you'll love again. Oh, I should mention his name since we like alternated lines. So I was Azan Sur and myself. And now I'll read a few poems that I wrote by myself, which is actually, I don't know if it's better to write. I think it's better to write on your own. We did get into it a couple times. But I just want to mention that because I really hope someone from OkCupid is watching out there and will contact me to be in a commercial. Okay, so this next one I'm going to read is my top right central incisor. This man with latex hands jokes with his assistant. Pass the hammer, as if it can be fixed, like a leaning fence post, as if it could make me smile, like a pair of sad clown portraits, as if I could forget it, like the tiger's eye in my pocket, as if my top right central incisor is not myself, out of line, hip jutting, arms crossed when I lie, deny I told Mel at Saturday's sleepover my uncle has AIDS, a stone that shelters a frog from summer sun. Sit there, I tell my sister, and when the stone rocks forward, I drop on her. You killed a frog. The snout of a possum skull poking through a hayloft, smelling I'm stuck with the wasp. I shake in a jar till my arms ache. A hard, smooth belly of garlic, undressed, under the sharp knife I hold for the first time, chopped the way Mom shows me. Without cutting myself, I say, you should have an abortion. His t-shirt I punch in the back on a line of whites. My bedroom door that jumps as the stray we named Al is beaten for biting the tail off the calf. Your 3 pillows to my 1. Hug me, I whisper up. No, hug me, you whisper down. And now my sister, sometimes you don't really know what you're going to read. And then something outside happens and you're like, okay, now I know what to read. My sister's doing a whale watch today in California. So I was like, all right, I'm going to read one of my newest poems. It's called A Whale Made of Felt. 1. In a sun-splashed room full of harpoons, we glide along with the crowd, gazing at rusted shanks and barbed mouths, harpoons the length of my arms, legs, my torso, mounted on walls or under glass. A woman cuts in front of me to peer closer at the intentionally soft iron, twisted by the will to survive. I lose you just when I feel I can't take another harpoon. I step into a champagne light that cups a life-size sperm whale floating off the floor, suspended by invisible cables. I hear a fizz when I get close, sense the heat of the orange sweater you carry. Where have you been? My blood keens to my fingertips, a song of longing for scars on the soft cream body that cannot be touched, the faint smile on the horizon of lips as if near extinction never happened. A rope stops us from going under, where I most want to stand and look up, where sex and birth and shit happens, we could be crushed. We keep following the line around the whale, talk about the early spring, pines erupting yellow pollen on our cars, your deflated quiche at lunch. On our 3rd lap round, you confess you are a Boy Scout. I guess we won't be sneaking under any ropes. What do Boy Scouts sell? Ammunition, I ask. You laugh. The diamond glint of sea and the whale's side unzips as long as your laugh, as wide as your smile. We dive inside. 2. Cream sheets rise and dip in all directions. We roll into the belly. Twilight. The air shimmers with salt. The sea's pollen. We hold hands, run and roll into the belly again and again, breathless. Everything is felt. Everything we touch is of heat, moisture, and pressure. When I speak, your lips move. We lie like a pair of lungs releasing the intensity of a whisper. We can be any organ. So you pick the brain sometimes, offer me algebra and long division. Eventually, I lean into you for the answer, and we play our favorite, the heart behind the heart, breathing and pulsing together, giving without asking, will this hurt? 3. Of course, fear is the first harpoon. You merely toss the words, I can't do this forever. I have a son and a patio to build. but they hit me hard in the back of my head like lemons. The sharp way I start some sentences with, "This is serious," to pretend I'm tough. Who brought in the X's? Both of us. The cutting head of memory. The night your parents fought over a gun. Replaced gun with bottle, and mine never stopped. More and more I'm a spling, clinging to you, crying. The door ripped off my closet of sadness. Sometimes I don't realize what I take out. A photo of an alligator with a butcher knife in its head. Am I talking about myself? You respond with a pigeon who swooped down on your table in Phoenix. A syringe through the neck. What are we really saying? The cream sheets are more like concrete. Your smile, a canoe fading, paddling down your black driveway. Could we be harpoons because we entered this not knowing? Not quite. The heart behind my heart thrashes. Okay, and the last one I'm going to read is, it's a little bit more upbeat, I think, I hope. It is. It is. But I definitely noticed, I feel like the one I'm going to read and the one I just read are probably in conversation with each other. Okay. The clown awaits your cue. To see him, you must see out of the corners of your eyes. Open to possibilities. Write love letters and poems, often starting with, "Where are you?" Under your pillow. Keep a list of the qualities you want. The river of your dreams carries each inky word off the page. Ask insects to broadcast your signals, especially ants. The world is stitched by ants. Console tree stumps. Reassure the limb of a marsh oak that its egret will return. Remind an egret that her branch squints beyond the horizon for her. Solicit the moon to hold your vision. Fold matching socks and leave at the foot of your bed like eggs. Balance a fist-sized cliff of obsidian on your pubic bone. Focus on your circus. Sweep out all the monkeys in their cherry red vests, the ones who flicked ash into cans around his bed, the one who only apologized for his harsh laundry detergent, the one whose idea of foreplay was to place your hand on prehistoric shark teeth. Let go of the acrobats who swung out with open arms and dropped you. With deep belly breaths, clear the elephants of fear, wearing scarlet brocade dresses. They trumpet from the shadows that you are not good enough, not worthy, not lovable. Grab fear of being hurt by its scraggly tail and yank hard until you feel the root pop loose. Give the dancing bear of abandonment new music. The gyro's horse stomp and watch her hips turn a figure 8. Cut the kitten ears from tigers you have caged in your throat and called swollen lymph nodes. Free them to climb the king pole, burst into the sky and hit the ground running like lava. Sit your inner child in the front row with plenty of popcorn and watch her face brighten as your tent is cleared, the way an egg sac erupts with the stars of tiny silver spiders. Hold her hand tightly when she jerks to run toward a clown you have started to call John the Baptist. He showed up first with qualities from your list, as if he'd waded into your dreams. He plays in bed like an otter, rips through the plastic armor in your heart with tenderness, offers you the first sip of water in the morning. Still, he's not committed to your circus and cuts your heart nearly as often as its armor. Remind your inner child as she salts her popcorn with tears that the best clown is coming, like the clown from her favorite book, who, when he juggled, a rainbow swirling through his hands, tossed the golden ball into the air, last and at the right moment. All right, thank you. I'm so excited that I have shots and that I don't have to listen to silence after our reading anymore. Like when we get together, we'll hear actual copy.
Wow. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all, Otram Slabess. That was great. Perfect for this month too. So thank you all and thank you everyone for coming to read. Did anyone want to say anything before we sign off of here?
Just thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yes.
I just want to remind everyone, among the many programs that the Pat Conroy Literary Center has fostered this month, are workshops. And next Wednesday, April 14th, from 6 to 8, I'm doing a Zoom workshop, Writing is Healing. I think you heard from Warren and from Brooke and from Jackie what writing can do to work through a loss, and how that helps you to do that. And that's kind of what I'm going to be trying to help people with. So please join me. Should be a good session.
Thanks, Robin. I'll be there. You should all.
If you're not, the tech won't happen, will it?
Yeah, Brooke's
He'll
11.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to get Otram Slabess together again. Like Emily said, it's been a long time, and we're happy that Quitman and Warren could get together and be here as well.
Jonathan, do you want to say anything?
Just to reiterate one more time, happy Poetry Month, everybody. And thank you all so much for an absolutely beautiful reading this evening. We so appreciate you doing this. And we're grateful to everybody watching out there in Facebook land as well. So thanks, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. See you next month.